Yo, what's going on, good people? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby. Coming at you with an updated deck profile for my Ritual Beast. Now, I've done quite a few different builds on Ritual Beast. It's definitely one of my fan favorites. I'm a hidden Arsenal junkie, and if you guys were not aware, the Ritual Beasts are an extension of the Gusto tribe, which has origins and ties and connections with the Mist Valleys. Just a really long story, but yeah. That's one of the main reasons why I'm a huge fan of Ritual Beast. And also, if you didn't know, that's why I really love Zephrys. Because Zephrys kind of just tie everything together. The archetype of Zephyr is comprised of some of my favorite decks of all time. But anyways, that's just that's totally off topic. So what I'm coming at you guys with today is a combo-oriented build. What I wanted to do was, the deck's already pretty efficient in combos. But what I wanted to do was proliferate those combos. I wanted to ensure that the mathematical aspect to it was absolutely correct, and I wanted a higher percentage than 60% of opening up with the combo. Now, there are intricacies that you have to follow, quite a few algorithms. You have to memorize a lot of things when you're playing this deck. But essentially, what the goal is at the end of it, no matter what, you're trying to get essentially a Ritual Beast Tamer and at the same time a beast that they are going to tame on the field. Once you get those two monsters on the field, that is essentially the deck's win condition, quote, so to say. That's how the deck gets started. It does a lot of contact fusing and tagging out, and naturally just generates a lot of advantage just off of 2 cards. But the thing is, the 2 cards are specific, and in order to get those 2 cards on the field, you have to play more than just Elder, basically. So we have some cool text in the main deck. Just keep in mind, as I always say for my deck profiles, it's going to be unorthodox. So if you're absolutely... like, if you're one-track minded and you feel that the deck can only be played the way you play it, then you're probably just not going to like this build just because, like, I'm not playing it the way you are. And I would say just because I'm not playing it the way you are doesn't mean you should hate or not give it a chance. Just give it a chance. You might be caught off guard. You might actually learn something. You might see a tech like, oh, I should try playing that out. You know, like, I should test that in my Ritual Beast deck. You might learn something. So let's go ahead and hop into the deck profile, you guys. Let's go ahead and start off with 3 copies of Ritual Beast Tamer Elder. Now, this is arguably the best No, I'm not even going to gas on you guys. Like, this is the best normal summon of the deck. Honestly, like, if I could play 6 of him, I really would, bro. Like, this card's actually just... him and Kanahawk is one of the greatest 2-card combos, I feel, in just the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, Ulti Kanahawk got put to 1 because of how good it is, and... just back in the day, like, opening Elder and Kanahawk was just so powerful. Some people would just scoop because of how much advantage you can get. The deck's a little hindered under Master Rule 4, but we did get our own Link Monster, which makes all the difference because now with Elder Kanahawk, you use the Link Monster to extend your combo piece, to extend your plays with the combo piece you search, which is going to be either Wind or, depending on the situation, Lara. You get your extra normal summon off of that, and you just kind of just keep going. And you can actually build a pretty decent board. I think that Steeds is still a great card, especially with combo decks being out. So just having that Elder and maximizing on it is absolutely important. A lot of people have told me, like, play 2, cut the card down to 2. It breaks when you see multiples in hand. Like, goodness gracious, if the card's good, play 3 of it. That's like, oh, I'm not going to play 3 Pot of Greed because it... no, like, stop it. Like, if a card is good, maximize on it. I don't care if I'm going to say 2 copies of Union Hanger in my deck. I'm going to play 3 Union Hangers in the ABC deck. I don't care if I open 2 pre-preparation of Rights, I'm still going to play 3 pre-preps in the Herald deck if the card is what enables the win condition of your deck. And essentially, it's one of the best cards to open with. Play 3 of it. Next up, we're playing 2 copies of Winda. Now, I really do like this card at 3, but it was one of the cards I definitely had to cut back on. Now, she is a very versatile combo piece in the sense that her name is actually treated as both a Tamer and a Beast at the same time. And fun fact, Winda is actually the leader of the Gusto tribe, and her pet was actually Guldos. Guldo actually is her pet, which that goes so Guldos, you'll see on the artwork like Winda's riding Guldo. And Elder is actually Kamui, the hope of the Gusto. He used to be a little kid, and he was one of the few survivors of the war. Now, Winda did survive, but she got turned into a Shadal, and she was kind of a hoe. But he survived the war and started the Ritual Beast tribe, which also have ties with the Naturias. Yeah, there's like a lot of like cool stories behind it. I'll even show you guys something really cool on one of their spells. It tells the story itself. But Winda basically, besides being a name for both aspects of the 2 different components of the deck, which actually are very cohesive, they work perfectly together. If she gets destroyed by battle card effect in your possession, which is really cool that they put in the text possession, meaning she can die and your opponent can attempt to negate the activation of her effect and destroy her. If they destroy her, her effect triggers again, just like Purple Poison, and it's not once per turn. So no matter what, it's going to happen unless they call by it. She's going to special summon a Ritual Beast from your deck or your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. Oftentimes, just for the big pushes, we just summon an Ultia Paleo, but you will not be able to get his effect because he was not properly summoned. So we play 2 of her. We also play 2 wins. I'm actually a huge believer in double win. One of the main reasons is because you don't necessarily have a way to get your Ritual Beast monsters from Grave or Banish Zone back into your main deck to search them out again. So naturally, you're not able to actually resolve win more than once if you only play one. And I find, like, especially in grind games, which happen a lot, just in general, like, this deck is not really tailored. I would say this deck's not tailored to beat the meta. Like, it's not. It's a rogue deck, and it really has to change its playstyle from what it originally was intended just a little bit. You're not deviating from the game plan all the way. But you really have to change up how you play the deck if you want to be competitive. And I find, like, if you want to play competitive, you really do need 2 wins because she comes up so much for me personally. Like, just in my own experience playing the deck, like, I've always hated playing 1 because she's just so clutch. This deck abuses your graveyard and your Banish Zone as 2 different pools of resources. And the pool of resources that the deck is very proficient at accessing at all given times is the Banish Zone. In fact, that's the more, I would say, important pool of resources is your Banish Zone. So Win is naturally a lot more powerful in the mid to late game than a card like Laura is, which we play 1 Laura. She basically, these essentially, when she's normal summon, she specials a Ritual Beast from Banish Zone, and she specials one from Grave. So these are 1-card combos, but you have to set up for them. Whereas with Elder, you just open him in a name, and that's the combo. But either way, these are naturally mid to late game are going to be 1-card combos. Or if you play the 1 of Foolish Burial, she's a 2-card combo. You play the 1 of Gold Sark, she's a 2-card combo. There's ways that you could get around with it. Now this is gonna play catch people off guard. I'm playing 2 Zephyr and Pilica, not because you can resolve more than 1. In fact, all the Ritual Beasts have a clause where they can only be special summoned once. So you'd say, why 3 stacks? Why do you play 2 of that card? You can only activate the effects once, and you already have a Laura, and they're searchable. Well, there's a card in my spell lineup that you'll see, and it'll get you a better understanding on why we actually play 2 of this. Because it's not actually because we're trying to resolve another one or anything like that. I'll get there. I'm never going to leave you guys with any questions. So these are all the Tamers, and the Tamers are going to be taming these beasts, and I'm getting ready to show you, which is really cool because they have unison bonds. It kind of reminds me, like, if you guys watch Naruto, it's like how Kiba is with his dog. I mean, how Kiba's whole tribe is. Like, they're bonded for life. Like, these creatures, the Ritual Beasts are bonded with them for life. Just like how the Gustos bonded with their animals for life. They kept the tradition of the Gusto tribe alive, and I love that so much. So now we have 3 copies of Conahawk. Conahawk, oh, this card is amazing, you guys. In fact, Goldsart being hit to 1 kind of hurts the combo variant that I had of this deck. I was playing a combo variant that absolutely maximized on Goldsart at 3. So thank you, Thunder Dragons. Now my combo variant's not going to be as efficient. But this guy is a Goldsark. He banishes a... No, he's literally a Goldsark all night. He banishes a Ritual Beast card, and then you're going to get it back, you know, a couple standby phases later. But what's important is setting up your Banish Zone because that, like I said, this deck abuses the Graveyard and the Banish Zone, but the most efficient pool of resources for this deck is definitely going to be your Banish Zone. That's where a vast majority of your power plays are going to be. You're going to be enabling a lot of your combos via the Banish Zone, and a lot of times you can circumvent with your Graveyard, but essentially once you fetch cards from the Graveyard, they're going to get banished because you're contact fusing. 3 copies of Rampengu, kind of a weaker Conahawk, but still at the same time, this card can be a little bit better just because it sets up your Banish Zone and your Graveyard simultaneously, which, as I've mentioned twice already in this profile, they're the 2 pools of resources that this deck is going to be using a lot. In fact, oftentimes, if this deck loses access to the Banish Zone, it's a lot weaker versus losing access to the Graveyard. So you really just want to keep your resources established, and it's another way that you can manage your resources because due to the fact that you can only special summon them once per turn, oftentimes what you're trying to do is you're trying to send different names that you haven't summoned that turn so that you can keep comboing off, because you can summon your fusions and tag them out more than once per turn, which is why Konami put the once per turn clause, I feel personally, so that you wouldn't be able to have an infinite combo with Conahawk. And then me personally, I actually play 2 Apelios. I really like this card a lot. In fact, it's a really strong card. Just by itself, it's pretty beefy. But the thing is, this deck can struggle with OTKing under pressure. And by the way, this is a budget-friendly build, so you're not going to see a Boral Sword in my extra deck or a Boral Load. So we're trying to OTK it the good old-fashioned way just by having a bunch of big Ritual Beast monsters after we've resolved Ritual Beast Steeds and Ambush on our opponent's turn. And for like combo decks like Thunder Dragon, Danger Dragon, Guard Dragons, and all that. Even Salamangreats, just hitting them with the Steeds on their turn if you went first, essentially kills their counter trap and their rage because they have to control Link in order to resolve it. And it's just really good in general. Steeds is so good, and Apelio is a great way to follow up with an OTK after you've resolved Steeds. One Pedalfin, love the card a lot. I actually think that it's important to play because this deck can struggle with getting over cards that can be destroyed because its main method for removal, it's kind of pseudo spot removal, but you can actually pop up to 5 monsters or 6 monsters, is to destroy. And if a card can't be destroyed, this deck can really struggle with getting over it, which means your next method for removal would have to be getting over it by battle. But since you play this in the main deck, which a lot of people don't play anymore, but I think it's correct, it's a problem solver. You actually have a main deck out to, for example, like a Colossus, just for example. The other thing, too, is like it reminds me of Jamming Wave in Sky Strikers, how Sky Striker players don't play Jamming Waves, but conveniently that's a card that can out a Yazi that naturally the deck can't really out a Yazi. And to sum up the monsters, I'm playing 2 copies of Artifact Scythe. Now, Scythe is really good because it actually is conducive with the playstyle. Basically, we're going for a first turn setup and a second turn kill, and we don't want the duel to last past our second turn. So now we're going to show you guys the spells, and this is really where the deck's, I guess you could say, the increments of consistency that the deck was missing. This is what we did to mitigate that issue. We're playing Brain Research Lab. So there are parts of this card's effect that you're not going to be capitalizing off of, but the most important thing is it's a double summon for your Psychics, which is really important because essentially having this or Terraforming plus any of your 9 beasts or any of your 2 windows, so this plus 11 cards, any one of the 11 cards in your deck that it combos off with, is going to allow you to go into your ulti Conhawk. So this is like playing Elder, but in the reverse side, because you want to have Elder in the Ritual Beast. But with this, you want to have this plus a Tamer, which is kind of really cool. It just enables so many more combos. And also, a fun fact is this card actually unbricks your hands, which again contributes to consistency, because consistency to me is a deck's ability to do the same thing in a repetitious manner. If my deck is putting up a board, the same board like half the time, to me that's not consistent. But if I can get it past that 60% point, I feel that then the deck can be considered consistent because it's well above half, and 60% is still a little too risky. Now we've got the deck at potentially 67 to 68%, which is not bad considering that it is Ritual Beast and they are, you know, kind of power crept right now. Also, we're playing 1 Oracle of Zephyr. This is the reason for playing the Zephyr on Pilica at 2, because actually in testing, opening up with 1 Zephyr Pilica in hand really hurts because you actually need to be able to capitalize, get the maximum advantage off of this card. In addition to that, it has an effect that's actually relevant. It's an amazing effect, in fact. And you guys don't have to play the second Zephyr and Pilica to do the combo with this, but I really like this second Zephyr and Pilica because I hate opening an Oracle and not being able to get fully capitalized off of it. Essentially, it being a -1 versus having that other copy in deck for me to search just gives me full value out of it, if that makes sense. So basically, when you fusion summon with that Pilica, you'll get an extension to your combo, allowing you to special summon a monster from your hand. That's what this is going to do because you fusioned with a Zephyr, and Zephyr and Pilica is a Zephyr. And that's crazy because oftentimes your combos are hindered based on how many names you can get out. So if you had like an Elder, or you had a Brain Research Lab, and you conveniently had, like, you resolved Conhawk and went for Rampingu, and conveniently had an Apelio in hand, for example, or a Pedalfin, you could just special summon that name out of your hand, and you can use that as an additional combo piece to load your Banish Zone while simultaneously clearing threats and getting ready for your OTK push. So it's a really good card, actually, and it also makes this card a little bit more flexible. We're only playing 1. Essentially, I didn't want to open with more than 1 of any of these cards, and I did the math on it, and these are cards that are not extremely important to the point where you need to maximize on every possible way to see them. They really are just there for the mathematic aspect because there's a probability. It's basically probs and stats with this deck. And for me, this was the perfect ratio of having 3 Brain Research Lab and 2 Oracles. Because essentially, we did not even want to play the risk of opening with more than 1 of any of these cards. Like, this plus this is still good, but like this and this is not good, if it makes sense. So I just kind of want to do that because these are not Elder, essentially. Elder is always going to be good because it doesn't matter what's in your hand. Elder will get you the additional normal summon. So that's a card you absolutely just need to play 3 of. And then the 1-ofs, continue, we play 1 return. It's one of my favorite extenders of the deck that it's searchable, makes it better, and it's a quick play, makes it insane. Now, this is a little story going on in the artwork. If you guys did not know, Falco got... Oh, man, this is why I feel like Construct's such a hoe, but I love Shadalls. Like, Construct took Falco away from Kamui, and that's their life partners. Like, when you guys have to understand that these animals are their best friends. They are bonded for life. So you see Elder is crying in the artwork of this card because Falco was freed from the control of Construct. He's no longer a Shadal. And Elder is literally crying because this is his childhood friend. Kamui and Falco have been best friends since Kamui was a little kid. And you can see how old Elder is. So as you can imagine how he feels to finally be reunited with his friend. You also see 2 of the Ritual Beast family members who were actually under the control of the Shadalls as well, which is kind of crazy how everything ended up happening, because El Shadal Wendigo also is another Ritual Beast monster that is under the control of the Shadal. So in general, Ritual Beast Return is quite literally saying that the Ritual Beasts have returned, like the family is reunited. So I really love this card for what it's worth. Just outside of its awesome effect, just the story that it tells, if you're into the lore, I'm into it. And then we have 1 copy of Ritual Beast Bond. This is absolutely a staple 1-of that you have to play. It's a really powerful card, but you don't really want to play 2 of it because it's not going to do very much in your hand. It's honestly, you have to get 2 names on field in the first place because you have to banish 2 Ritual Beast monsters you control. So opening with it and you don't have a combo, it's going to make your hand even worse. But having it as a 1-up that can be searchable anytime you need it is perfect. The 1 E-Telly, you play a bunch of Psychics. You're trying to get 2 different names on the field, so you definitely want to play that E-Telly. For our traps, we're going to start off with 3 Artifact Sanctum. This goes in tandem with the playstyle. First turn setup, second turn kill. If I can stop my opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, I can OTK them. If they're playing Dangers, that's why it's really nice to have a Sanctum plus the Steed. Because Dangers can OTK under a Sanctum, but if you flip Steed and pop 4 or 5 of their monsters, they're not going to do very much except get OTK'd next turn. Steeds is non-targeting removal. It does destroy. So what it does is it destroys monsters your opponent controls up to the number of Ritual Beasts you control. Conveniently, Master Roll 4 enables you to have 6 monsters on the field now. So in the past, you could only pop 5, but now you can potentially pop 6, which does come up. And now, I'm a huge advocate of 3 of this card. Most people would give me hate for this and, you know, like cry and complain and tell me that I should cut it. But I love 3 Ambush. I've been playing Ritual Beasts since they came out, actually, literally. In fact, like, around that era, I had Satellar Knights, Ritual Beasts, Necros. I had Shadalls, Cleave Forts, Burning Abyss. Like, I had Yang Zings as well. Like, I practically played every good deck of that format because they're all part of the lore. I've always played 3 Ambush. This card's just so good in the mid to late game. You have to have it. And this really helps you to set up because there's a trump card we play in our extra deck, which is Ultia Paleo. And this easily helps you to set up to summon him because it gives you 2 of the 3 components you need to make him. So you can make him a lot easier. And this card's just going to steal you so many wins in the mid to late game. Because there's naturally any deck he can beat because he actually is... We'll get to him when we get to him, but he's insane. We played 2 copies of Mind Over Matter. Do not sleep on this card. This is incredible. You play a lot of Psychics in your deck, and sometimes the fusions you make are Psychics as well. This is basically an Infernity Barrier for Psychics, basically. Well, it's kind of not Infernity Barrier, but it's basically like a Judgment. So when a monster will be normal or summoned, or normal special summon, or a spell or trap is activated, tribute a Psychic monster, negate the summon or activation, and destroy that card. So you're consistently getting Psychics. We wanted to play 2 and not 3 because opening this without a Psychic really does suck. So we just really wanted to... I wanted to decrease my bricks hands as often as I possibly can while still playing really good cards that are somewhat situational, but you can easily mitigate that by just playing less of them so that you see them at the time you need them, but not a little bit too early or too late by playing them at a 1-up. But yeah, this is basically Judgment. That's not once per turn. It negates anything but a monster effect, but the cool thing is naturally you're able to stun your opponent with cards like Solemn Strike and the Lost Winds, which we actually play 2 of each. And then I'm also playing the Macro. I don't have D-Fissure anymore, otherwise I'll play DeFi. I feel like Macro and DeFi have to be played in this deck. They are really good against meta decks right now, and this deck can play with this and it doesn't even hurt at all. In fact, anytime you need your banished cards back in the grave, one of your fusions can instantly just return them And because it's not being sent to the graveyard, Macro will not banish it because it's being returned to the grave. So that's the main deck. Now for our extra deck, we're playing 2 copies of Ultimate Guide Paleo. This card is the beneficial accrutement of the archetype. And this card essentially is your trump card. It's your mid to late game finisher. You don't want to summon this card too early. That's why it's really important to play your game properly, because your Kanahawk is going to set you up for this card. This card is basically a Herald of Perfection for this archetype, and how he operates is he can negate a spell trap or monster effect during each player's turn, and it's not once per turn, by banishing a Ritual Beast card from your hand. Now, he has to be properly summoned, and in order to properly summon him, you actually have to use a Ritual Beast and a Tamer, and you have to use a Tamer, a Beast, and one of their ulti fusions. So you have to have a fusion plus the 2 components of the main deck. So it's not very easy to summon this card turn 1. That's why it's really not a smart turn 1 play, because you'll naturally, if you do that, you'll get 1 or 2 negates, which is not always going to be good enough, considering you're going to empty your entire hand, and this is all you're going to have. And he cannot tag out, which is kind of sucks, because it'd be amazing if you could just tag out and bring out a Kanahawk and 2 guys. That would make him powerful. But he's still a strong guard. He's, like I said, he's going to be finishing your mid to late game. You want to manage your resources properly. You want to make adequate and optimal plays, but you want to plan ahead as if you're playing a game of chess, because this card is what you're naturally going to be summoning to close out a lot of your games, especially when you're not playing with the Boar Sword. And then we have the God card himself, Ulti Kanahawk. This card was limited to 1 for a very good reason. He's your archetype-specific searcher. He solves a lot of the problems where you have resources trapped in the banish zone and you have no way to really solve that problem. This card can easily just put them back in the grave, so you can access them and interact with them with your Laura and your Zephyr Pilica and your Beast, and your Ambush and cards like that, just of that nature. Really good card. Also keep in mind your Link monster has to banish 1 too, so sometimes you just need to have a target to banish so you get that extension to your combo. But this card is really incredible. Then we're playing 2 Ultia Paleos. I find that this is the perfect ratio, 2 and 2 on the other fusions. This card is more, this card's a lot more aggro, whereas this card's definitely a defensive card. Oftentimes, I'm ending my board on an Ultia Pedofin because it's pretty good. Its protection is very relevant, and if it's ever in trouble, you can always just tag out. And these cards cannot be called by because they put themselves back into the extra deck for cost, which is really cool because called by naturally would hurt cards like ABC Buster Dragon and the Prank Kids, but their tag out is unique to their archetype. And then the Link Monster, we're playing just 1 of it, Ulti Kumni Falcos. This card is part of almost every first turn combo. It's an extender, it's a problem solver, it helps you to beat over cards, and it can tag out. There's nothing bad about it. And then some generic links. We are playing Cerbis and Phoenix. These were the only other two links that mattered, because if we consistently open 2 zones for ourselves with this card, and this card can always go in and out from your extra deck back into your extra deck, so you're never going to run out of it. And we just played these for the spot removal that they provide you for. So those are the only 3 links that I played. Borlord and Borsword and Unicorn are not budget, so I'm not playing them because I wanted to make this list budget friendly. I have all those cards and I have impermanences and all that if I wanted to, but I've already done builds of Ritual Beast with all those expensive cards. I wanted to do one that's budget but still good. Then we have Lightning Chidori. This card is such a beast. I just love that this deck can actually make it. I love this card so much. And then Tornado Dragon, Giant Hand, Time Thief Redoer. These are reactive cards that you really need because you need more ways to play on your opponent's turn outside of just your back row itself. Because when you have these plus back row, it gives you just a higher ceiling because there's so much that your opponent has to play through. And it's really hard for them to OTK you because you can always just use that ambush to chum block. And naturally, when you use ambush to chum block, you bring out a window, which brings out another body, even if it's just from deck. So yeah, it's really just helps you in the long run. And then the Dweller should be in here, but I have my Dweller scattered amongst decks, and right now I just really was struggling to find it. So instead of Dweller, we chose Baguska. This would be a Dweller, but Baguska is still a really good supplement for the card. You definitely can't compare Baguska to Dweller because they're 2 different. They have 2 different interactions and matchups, but this is still a really good card as well. That's gonna sum up the deck profile, you guys. Let's see. Okay. All right, we were going to do test ends and stuff like that, but the video is pretty long. Sorry about that, you guys. But yeah, I'll definitely get some more content with Ritual Beast. For all of you who are fans of the archetype like me and who love the lore, you guys got a little bit of insight on it. Thank you guys so much for watching this deck profile. God bless you. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. And stay tuned for future content and stay positive. Peace out, you guys.